There's nothing I can do now but share my last story. I'll never know why he chose me. A couple of hours ago, I went out to grab some dinner with a couple friends. I had a blue cheese hamburger. The place was called Old Balcony. Josh had suggested it, claiming it had the best meat he'd ever eaten. It truly did. We laughed the night away. Catching up with them was always delightful. However, the perfection of the evening was disturbed by another customer. He sat, along with his kids and wife, 3 tables away from us. He wore a white shirt, some denims, and brown shoes. Nothing out of the ordinary, except that he wouldn't keep his eyes off of me. Those black, emotionless pieces of void. It took me a while to notice, and when I did, I thought I was being paranoid. I told my friends, and through cautious looks, they confirmed my worry. He was indeed staring deeply at me, barely blinking. His wife's eyes were downcast, and her movements were that of someone overwhelmed by a crippling fear. Unnatural, calculated, almost robotic. Their children were drowned in their own little world, laughing as they attempted to build a plane out of the restaurant's handkerchiefs. I chose to ignore him, although I couldn't shake away the feeling of someone observing my every movement. It was distracting, made my skin itch, and my leg fidget. Soon, it was time to go. The bill was paid, the fatigue begun to weigh down on me. The guys offered to take me home, in case the man was a psycho of sorts. I declined the offer, seeing that the man and his family were just beginning to eat their dinner. Also, I'm terrified of cars, but that story isn't relevant right now. There weren't many people in the streets when I went back, which I found alluring. My hometown is one of the oldest in Europe, and its architecture truly shines without the hubbub of people and the noises of passing cars. I could hear my steps as my shoes hit the stone pavement. I could feel the breeze of the upcoming winter caressing my skin and the warmth of the many night lights. I remember smiling as I submerged my eyes in the colorful beauty of the old buildings, until my skin itched and my legs wobbled. I scratched my arms, my face, and hurried my step. I scanned my surroundings, yet found no one. The air felt heavy, humid, as if a sudden wave of summer had struck the town. I struggled to breathe. It felt like 2 hands squeezing my lungs, forbidding the oxygen to go in or out. I had no doubts anymore. I was being watched, and the weight of the observing eyes felt too familiar. I deviated from the streets toward a nearby bridge. My house was right at the end, but I rarely crossed it at night. It didn't have any lights, and thus homeless men crammed the place. The stench of dried piss and dirty hair pervaded it. I held my breath. The horrid sensations I'd felt moments ago were disappearing. Perhaps it was all in my mind. The man couldn't have reached me. I would have seen him, wouldn't I? I locked my gaze on the stony ground, ignoring the gibberish and the creepy scenery around me. I felt a pull from behind and froze in place. "Robert, keep walking. You've been poisoned." A voice whispered into my ear. I gulped and obliged. Fear crept up my shins and into my jowls, nibbling my insides like a starving rat. I didn't recognize the voice, but it was crisp and clear. It didn't belong to one of these homeless. He also knew my name. Poisoned? Shut up, he snapped. Then, he left the silent hung as we walked, maintaining his grip on the back of my shirt. His breaths prickled the hairs of my nape. They came often and in short bursts. The man had been running. His heartbeat was high. What would happen if I elbowed him and barreled away? I couldn't truly be poisoned, right? I kept my stare fixed on the ground, and through the corner of my eye, I saw his shoes. They were brown. 20 steps from here, right at that empty bit, we will stop, he whispered. You can run and let the poison do the rest. He paused. Or you can play my game. It's easy, and if you win, I will give you the antidote. Don't speak. If you stay, then I will know your decision. Those last steps were an ordeal. The lack of oxygen, the wobbling of the knees, the itch. It all returned. Fear can do terrible things, yet these feelings weren't a product of it. The poison was kicking in. I had no doubt about it. I could feel it coursing through my blood, raising its temperature. Here, he said, releasing his grip. I turned and saw the man of the restaurant. His face was as empty as ever, a forgotten canvas in the basement of a passionless artist. I remained in place, waiting for his game. My arms felt heavy, and a sharp pain flared in the back of my eyes. I needed the antidote. The man fumbled into his back pocket and dug out a gun, along with a tiny flask with a white liquid inside. The game is easy. You have two options, the gun and the flask. If you choose the gun, then you choose to kill one of your friends in exchange for the antidote. Of course, you should do it soon, otherwise the poison will get you first. If you choose the flask, then I will tell you where to find the antidote right now. However, your friends, the whole lot, won't wake up to see another sunrise. He placed both items atop his palms. Choose wisely, and don't speak. I will kill all of you if you do. In that moment, everything inside me crumbled. There was no good way out. Why had he chosen me for this? What in the hell did I do to upset him? The adrenaline surged through my veins. My heart thundered. Yet I felt weak, as if I hadn't eaten in weeks. Tick-tock, he said. Time is running out. I snatched the gun away from his hands. It was the only thing I could think of. It made sense. I held it, feeling the coldness of the steel, observing the blackness of its design. It blended with the night. And then, I did what I had to do. I pointed it toward the man of the brown shoes and pulled the trigger. Nothing came out. It wasn't loaded. It was obvious, yet my thoughts were crooked by the poison. The man shook his head and walked away. I trudged toward my house, whimpering in the dark. Now everything inside me burns. My throat is as dry as a desert, and no amount of water can satiate my thirst. I called the ambulance, yet they still haven't arrived. There's a knife beside me. Perhaps if I cut off my skin, the itch will stop. Perhaps the poison will leave my system through the blood, and the ambulance will save me. Yes, that seems like a good idea. Hey everyone, I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you want to see more, let me know in the comments below, and tell me what you thought of this narration. Make sure to follow me on Twitter for updates, and if you'd like to get early videos, shoutouts, and much more, I'd appreciate it if you check out my Patreon page. It's a place where you can help support my channel while getting awesome rewards in the process, and every pledge helps out a ton, no matter the size. So if you'd like to see all the rewards I offer and consider becoming a patron, it'd mean a ton to me if you'd click the link in the description and just check it out. And don't forget to show some love to the amazingly talented authors who make these narrations possible. Have a good night, everybody. Cheers.